Hey everyone, I just finished up my little library shift and I need to return this book, The Dark Forest, because it was due on Friday and today is Monday, and so I kept it over the weekend to binge read it. So before I go drop it off, I thought I would tell you a little bit about it. And I just wanted to mention too, the eclipse is still happening behind me right now. Yeah, but I can't see it because I have no eclipse glasses to wear. But it's almost over, and it's not total here. I think they said it was like 40%, and people were taking some pretty cool pictures of it. If I would have had glasses, I could have seen a little bit, but since I didn't have any, I decided I wouldn't look at the sun. Anyway, it's just finishing up behind me. First little half, I will try to do spoiler-free, and then maybe I'll say some more at the end that will be full of spoilers. Okay, so this is the second book in the Three Body Problem trilogy. I think there's just three, but I feel like somebody said there might be even a fourth book, so maybe it's not a trilogy. I don't know. I will try to do this first a little bit. No spoilers for this book, but there will be spoilers for Three Body Problem for sure. And that one ends when everyone realizes that this alien species, these people, they're called the Trisolarians, they are on their way, and they broadcast like this everywhere. They kind of took over technology for a minute and let everyone know that they were coming, and they called everyone bugs. You are bugs. And that's pretty much where the Three Body Problem ends, and everybody's freaking out because these aliens are on their way. So all these different factions develop. People who want to escape, people who want to fight, people who want to let them come. That's pretty much the basics, I guess. The whole world's divided on what to do. The UN decides to appoint 4 people that they feel like are really smart people that can figure stuff out to have all the resources that they need to work on figuring out how the world is going to deal with this invasion that's going to be happening. I can't remember how fast they're coming, but I'm seeing people still trying to look at the sun. They're going to be here in 400 years. So people, I find that interesting that people are so freaking out, even though it's not going to happen in their lifetime. But they know that they need to start solving the problems now. Be prepared for what's going to happen in 400 years. But they do have the technology to hibernate. And so some people do decide to go sleep and be around for the doomsday battle, is what they call it. Our aliens are communicating a little bit with the organization that pops up who want them to come. The people who told them to come, basically. That's all in the first book. And so they are communicating, but then suddenly they stop communicating because they realize that the human race can deceive and can lie. And so there's all of a sudden no communication with them. And then the human race realizes that they can't read minds. They can't read our thoughts. And so they have these little micro computer chip things called sophons, and they are watching everything that we're doing as they're coming. So they appoint these 4 people to figure out the solution to how to deal with the invasion. But they don't want them to really let them know what they're doing, because they want only them to think about it and only have the solution in their thoughts. Does that make sense? So that the aliens won't be able to find out what's going on. So these 4 people start figuring out stuff, and it's very scientific and it's fascinating, the solutions that they're coming up with. And you see what they're doing to come up with it, but you don't really know what they're actually thinking. Us as readers don't even know what's going on. We follow all 4 of them and all their different things that they're trying to figure out. The one guy though is our main character, and he refuses to be part of this, but they basically tell him you can't say no. And so he's like, fine. And then he decides to use all of the resources and money that they are willing to give him to go and be a recluse, basically, in some beautiful place and find his dream girl and have a family. And so that's what he's doing with the money, until one day something happens. And this is kind of where the spoilers start happening. And he's forced to go ahead and figure out his solution, which is pretty crazy. And And so from there on, things get really, I mean, it's always, the whole story is always a little bit crazy. Yeah, basically the whole book is about all these different solutions that they're trying to come up with. And then if I talk more about what happened, then it's going to be spoilers. So here's your spoiler warning. And I will keep talking about what happens the rest of the book if you are interested. The one guy that we follow mostly, the main character dude, they take his family and they put them in hibernation, and they basically tell him that that was part of the plan and that he needs to come out of reclusive home that he's been in and start working on stuff. And so he does. And the aliens get very, very nervous about what he's doing. Before he was chosen as Wallfacer, that's what the name of these people are that are figuring out the problems. The organization that is in cahoots with the aliens that were trying to kill him. And then when he comes out of it and starts working again, then they are aware of what he's doing and they start getting very nervous, and so they're trying to kill him again. They end up managing to poison him, but before he dies, they put him in hibernation. And then we jump ahead 200 years. So now the alien fleet is about 200 years away, but they have sent out 10 probes. And one of those probes has gotten ahead of the rest of the 10, and it's coming in like 3 days from when we wake up at 200 years later with our main dude. The world 200 years later is fascinating, and it's very interesting to see what the author, his vision of the world in 200 years will be. Like screens everywhere, a complete supply of power. They've gone underground to live because there was this huge, they call it the Great Ravine, which is basically global warming from what I understand. And the whole up above is like just a desert, but some people still live up there. And also the economy collapsed, and it wiped out more than half of the population. So our guy is awake now, trying to get used to this new world, and he just wants his family to be awakened too and just kind of live this life. And his status as Wallfacer is no longer. In the meantime, the probe is coming, and we see the point of view from the people who are in space. There's this huge, huge, huge fleet of spaceships, and they are actually so huge that they are their own country now, people living in space, and they are right around Neptune or something. And the probe comes, and they think it's going to be at first they think it's like a message of peace and, let's be friends. And all of a sudden the probe lets out this really hot, like gas thing, like light, really hot light, and it pretty much starts melting everything around it. And then it is like a guided missile basically, and it goes through the fuel tanks of every one of those spaceships in that huge fleet, and pretty much destroys every one of them. And it happens so fast that nobody knows what's going on. That's when my mind, I was just like envisioning this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And these are the people that are coming. So they obviously aren't very friendly. And a few ships escape, and then we find out what happens with those ships and how they destroy themselves because they realize that there's no way that they're going to all make it. It's very complicated, and I'm not going into the details with all those backstories. But then the probe goes and talks to the sun basically, and turns off the sun, not the sun's rays, but it's able to magnify the messages so that we can send messages. And that's how they got in contact with this race in the first place, these aliens in the first place. And it turns off the ability for the sun to do that. So now there's no way to communicate. Our guy thought that that probe was going to come and just kill him, but it didn't end up doing that. So now it's very confusing. And now, right around that same time, the thing that he did before he went to sleep, 200 years before, it worked. And everybody finds out that it worked. And so now they are praising him as this huge hero. And he is they expect him to be able to do it again and actually use this, because it was just a practice test, what he did. It blew up a star. And so now they expect him to use this to blow up the alien fleet that's on its way. but he can't do it anymore because of what the probe did to the sun. He needed the sun's magnification capabilities to do the thing that he did before. So now he can't do it. But in the meantime, he's doing stuff that we don't know about, you guys. It feels like it's all ending and that they're going to come and he's not going to save the world. But then at the very end, right when we think that he's like going to die, and he's basically pretending to be like this reclusive drinking, beer drinking person. And he basically uses it's like a bomb, you know, when you have the thing strapped to you, and if you die, then the thing is detonated. And so he puts a gun to his head and he's like, I'm going to kill myself, and if you don't talk to me right now, and he's talking to the aliens, then this is going to happen. This thing is going to happen. They were working on another project, and there was like these bombs in space. And he says, if I die, the system's signal will vanish and all those bombs will detonate, turning the bombs into interstellar dust clouds that will ring around the sun. And he explains what's going to happen. I think he kind of lost me here on the detail of exactly what's going to happen. But the bottom line is that the aliens do not want this to happen. It's going to destroy the world, the Earth. It's going to destroy them. And like everything will just be gone. They're coming to Earth because they need a new place to live. So they don't want Earth destroyed, and they don't want, they don't want to be blown up themselves. And so with what our guy has put out in space, as if it's another project, like he's all along doing something else. It's supposed to be just looking like they're doing something else. Does that make sense? And he says, I'm going to shoot myself now if you don't talk to me and communicate. And then all these bombs will go off. And so finally the aliens start communicating again and give him what he wants. That is how it ends, basically. Hopefully the people that are really, really into this series and can remember all the scientific details won't be too bothered at me for not understanding some of the really detailed stuff. But like I say over and over again, a regular person like me can still enjoy these kinds of stories, even if I don't understand all this scientific stuff. And I know a lot of people really, really enjoy that stuff. And if you are into the science, this really detailed science of how all this is going down, then you will love these books. I enjoy it just for the craziness of it, and the characterization of these books aren't that great, and I don't feel that connected to characters. It's definitely a plot-driven story and not a character-driven one. And I feel like if we were more connected to the characters, there would be times when I would be just like totally sobby and weepy. Instead, more of it is like, oh my gosh, really? Wow, that's happening? So yeah, it's kind of lacking in that department, I would say. Touching us through the emotional level. It's more a brainiac, science wow factor. Does that make sense? So if you really like that kind of thing, and I am enjoying just the bottom line spaceness of it. I feel like when you're reading it, you do have this sense of how small we are in the whole grand scheme of things. Because the scope of this is so huge. Just the predictions that this author is making for the future is pretty fascinating. Those are my thoughts on The Dark Forest. And I didn't even say what The Dark Forest was, but I won't give that part away, I guess. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, if you're reading along with this series, or if you've read them in the past, let me know what you thought. And it's a fascinating story for sure. Three Body Problem ended on quite a cliffhanger. This one didn't feel very cliffhanger-ish at the end, but I am curious to know what else he has planned for this. So, oh my word, I have talked a lot. I will have to edit this down quite a bit. Anyway, I need to go drop this off in the drop-off now and let somebody else read it, because somebody is waiting for it. So let me know if you decide to give this one a shot. Let me know if you're brave enough to jump into this world, or if you already have, and what you think. Until next time, happy reading!